the wealthier people are, the less generous, statistically speaking, they become. The most generous people per income are actually those who make less, like $40,000 or less. They're more generous with their income than people that make more. I think it's why, because we begin to trust our stuff, the accumulation of stuff. We think that this is actually where our security and our identity comes from. So we become less generous with the more money that we make.
Welcome to another episode of the One Life podcast, diving deeper into the weekend sermon. Week number 4 of Here and Now. Pastor Jared, just give us your thoughts on what the last 3-4 weeks look like, and then we're going to talk about, obviously, not only the sermon, but then gearing up towards commitment weekend next weekend.
All the preparation for Here and Now started months ago. I mean, probably a year ago, we started praying as a elder team, and honestly, it's felt, just my personal take, a little anticlimactic because all of the buildup, and you're here. So I say that like just like the moment, and it's gone by very fast. Secondly, what the emails, the DMs, the responses have been everything that I've been praying for, of people just waking up and asking themselves the question, maybe I've just gotten a little too comfortable just with my life, and I haven't been taking steps of faith. So that's been really encouraging, the spiritual side of it. And then you're right, this is the weekend where we all kind of come together and make a commitment of this is what Here and Now generosity looks like for us. Because I've trying to, in a non-manipulative way, just make the argument of like, actually how you spend your money and what you invest in for eternity, it is connected to your faith. Jesus makes that argument. Paul makes that argument. And so this is why it is a very important moment. I think it'll be a historic day in the life of our church as we all come together and make that commitment. So
really excited
been
for
praying. Yeah, I've been praying and asking God just talk to people. And as a pastor, all I want for people to do is whatever God tells you to do, just do it.
Yeah.
Hold nothing back. And together, let's go on this journey to, this 3-year faith journey of what it looks like to be generous in this season.
It's exciting. Let's talk a little bit about this last week's sermon. I think you set up generosity really well with just the idea. I'm a data guy, right? So stats are really fun. Yep. Juliet makes fun of me because like I'll literally just scroll like a box score of a basketball game and just read stats for like an hour, right? So you gave off like baptism, prayer, faith, love, all the different Bible verses that are mentioned about those things, and then way more about the topic of being generous, or really the idea of like possessions, materialistic things. So speak into that for a little bit, and the tension you maybe face as a leader of the church, either big C or local. Like, if it's talked about so much in Scripture, why is it sometimes the least talked about thing within the church?
I don't know why it's the least. Well, I do know. They're afraid. Pastors are afraid to talk about it. And part of like the struggle that I do experience is, I would call the ickiness around feeling manipulative, feeling like we need this. So my approach and honestly, I've been trying to like do this since I've been the pastor here, of I don't want anything from you. Like, if God tells you to give nothing to this and don't make a commitment, then just do what God tells you to do. But I want this for you because I know this has the power to change your life. And if you approach it that way, I can walk on the stage and have boldness and confidence preaching about money and giving and generosity, because I know that'll make a difference in your life. Like, this is how you grow spiritually, and you don't have to, but man, if God gets a hold of your heart in this area, He speaks to you about this, then obviously He'll talk to you about your money and everything else. So that's why generosity at the end of the day is not about dollars and cents; it's about your heart. Jesus makes that argument: "For your treasure is there, your heart is." Like, so, put your treasure there, your heart follows. That's the way it works. So, if Jesus had boldness and confidence talking about it, He talked about this more than heaven and hell, more than any other topic. I think we can do this in the same heart as Jesus, not wanting anything from you. So I think that's why. I also think there's, just call it what it is. I even mentioned this in every message this weekend. People don't trust organizations or churches because, some pastors have given the body of Christ, the bride of Christ, a black eye for how they've taken advantage of people. And so I totally get that. So there's a little bit of rub, especially the larger the organization gets, of just like, I don't know if I can trust who I give this to. And I just say, man, you're not actually giving to to me or to an organization, you're giving to God in this season. So don't allow somebody's past mistakes, or maybe you've been in a church, they had a capital campaign and they just misused the funds. Don't allow, somebody else's mistakes to keep you from experiencing everything that God wants to do in your life right now.
Yeah.
So that's been my approach with this. And it's just open-handed. Like, this is God's church. I'm going to steward it well. This is a 3-year journey. So I'm just praying that God, the initial commitment and then what God does over the next 3 years, we'll be able to hit our goals.
Yeah. That's good. So, speak a little bit more about, because you mentioned like it's a matter of the heart, right? So talk about Macedonia and the difference between the heart of like what Paul was saying within the church at Macedonia versus the church in Corinth.
Well, he says like it's not always like beat up on Corinth, because he says you excel in a lot of ways, but you are not excelling in the gift of giving, in the gift of giving. The ministry of giving is the exact text, which just tells you that they were well off, and the economy in Corinth in that time was really, really strong. But the church in Macedonia actually went in poverty, and we don't know what poverty is, and I think poverty is a relative thing. Obviously, in America we have a poverty line, but let's just take it as a whole. We do not live in poverty. If like according to the whole world, like we are very, very wealthy. So I think we are very much like Corinth in that sense. And you know what's interesting? I didn't have time to dive into it, just ran out of time and space. But the wealthier people are, the less generous, statistically speaking, they become. That the most generous people per income are actually those who make less, like $40,000 or less. They're more generous with their income than people that make more. I think it's why, because we begin to trust our stuff, the accumulation of stuff. We think that this is actually where our security and our identity comes from. So we become less generous with the more money that we make. Now we may give more money, like dollars, but percentage-wise, we give less the more money. And that's just data. That's everybody tells you that, which is an interesting thing. So why? I think people in Macedonia, man, when you're living like in poverty or you're in that struggle, man, you're already trusting God. You're not trusting in yourself. You're not trusting in your own resources. You're already living a life marked by faith. Which is why I think everyone should go on a missions trip. You need to go to Togo, West Africa, and you need to see people who make less than $1 a day show up to church and worship and trust God and give and are faithful out of their limited resources. I mean, it changes something in your heart, right? And they go back to their hut and they're happy and they have the joy of the Lord. That's what Paul is hitting at in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, that even in their poverty, they're still filled with this abundant joy. Well, why? Because they live a life of faith and trust, where the more we make, the more faith and trust we put in ourselves and our ability, rather than in trusting God to provide and meet our needs. So there's the distinction. That's Macedonia, that's Corinth. And I don't even know if Paul, this is stuff we don't know, if they gave more than Corinth, but it's kind of like the widow's mite moment, right? Of, man, they gave percentage-wise obviously more. They're excelling in this area than the church in Corinth. And so Paul kind of just uses a little manipulation, I think, honestly, of like, hey, be more like this church. Can you imagine me getting up to our campus and being like, hey, Mesa, be more like East Mesa, be more like Superior. Percentage-wise, they give more than the Mesa campus. And that probably is true. I would never like get on a stage and do that. But that's what Paul's doing in 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Like, be more like them. Yeah. They're better at this than you are. Yeah. And I mean, Paul's an apostle. I'm not an apostle, so he's earned the right to shame.
It's
them.
A great parenting technique too,
right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine, Gianna, be more like Grayson. I probably have done that.
I don't know if you've said it that way. Maybe twist the other way.
Exactly right.
Yeah, that's funny. All right, speak into the trust issue a little bit more, and you broke this down within the sermon and just answered the question of can I trust who I'm giving it to? Yeah. So speaking of, first, the organizational mindset of just like, hey, here's what we're planning to do with the resources given to us, but then ultimately like the trust not only in the local church, but then just into God with your life and the fruition of like, hey, I'm a generous person.
So let's talk about the organization for a moment. Well, let me go back. It's not, if you understand at the end of the day that we are stewards, we're not owners, it's really not even my money. It's all God. Everything belongs to Him. So out of that heart, again, because generosity is a matter of the heart, that's where we give, that's where we're generous. So at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like I'm not manipulating where that money needs to be spent. We just trust. But I also realize in the day and age in which we live, I'm not living under a rock, there is high skepticism. And so we have very strong controls. We have a CFO, we have a financial team. We have very clear goals and accounts, like the extra money is going to go to, so we can chase after these things. We have a board that oversees all of that I report to. I don't write any checks. I don't handle the money here at One Life. I get a salary that the board sets for me. Like I don't even control how much money I get paid. That's a board decision. So I think we have very strong controls for a church. We have financial reviews, all those types of things every single year. Why? Because it's important for me that our people have confidence that we do handle money God's way, that we are full of integrity. That's an important thing, just me as a pastor. So that's number one. I think we've earned the right. This is an organization that you can trust to handle God's money the right way. So as giving comes in, we'll give updates. Our plan is not a plan, like we have a strategy for this. We're going to do it. Give updates monthly of just where we are, where giving, where commitments are, just so our people are in the know and they know what's happening. And I was at our East Mesa campus on Sunday, and I just said, hey, listen, right today I don't have an update of this is land or this is a building. We really need to see where the commitments come in, and then from there we begin to make decisions. So I'll just be open and honest with our church in the days to come of where everything is. And my commitment, DJ, is I'm not going to out punt our coverage here. We're not going to run out ahead. We just trust God. This is your church. We believe that you've spoken to us. This is the plan. And as you provide, as you bring people, then we'll move at the rate of people's generosity and people's service. So my job is just to cast the vision, be faithful, and God brings the increase. So I think that's where people can have confidence in the organization of One Life Church. This is good ground to invest. So you can trust this. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of, do you trust God in this area of your money? And he just says 10, 10, 80. Give 10, save 10, live on the rest. That's how you know if you trust God in the area of your finances. Yeah. And he's never going to ask you to give something that you don't have. That's repeated over and over again in 2 Corinthians chapter 8. You give of what you have, of what God has entrusted into you. Now, the question I'm going to ask this week is not prosperity gospel, but I do believe that God, when you align your finances and you align your generosity under God's plan, I do believe he blesses it. He doesn't bless you so you'll have more. Like if I give, you sow a little bit, he's going to give. But here's the question I'm going to ask people. Like, if you're not trusting God in the area of the 10, 10, 80, like if you were God, would you give yourself more if you're not doing what he's already told you to do? I think it's a humbling thought, right? Yeah. If you're not, why would he give you more? You're not even like managing what you have well. Why would he give you more to do that? So that's the question I'm going to ask this weekend. Not a prosperity teaching, but the theology is there. Like if you reap what you sow. So are you sowing as God has asked you to? And then obviously the blessing, and I believe this with all my heart, that God does want to give you more than you need. Why? So you can be a blessing. Not for yourself, but to be a blessing to those around you. Yeah. But it all aligns, right? This is the trust, the faith of aligning yourself with how God has played it out in Scripture.
It's good. I think for people too, like this, just the concept, us being a church that gives 10% away, like we practice that ourselves, is such an important piece. Because not only, and you say this a lot, right? Like we're not asking you to do something that we're not only personally doing, but then as an organization doing too. But this idea of like they just want to be a bigger or better, 10%'s a lot. So if we truly just wanted to be like bigger, better, we would use that 10% for ourselves. Like the goal is people. We're here to reach one more life for Jesus. Yes, it takes a lot of money to do that, but we also know that there's other people and places where the gospel needs to be shared and spread, and that's an important mission for us too.
I'm not anybody's Holy Spirit. I believe in the 10-10-80 principle. I mean, it is you cannot talk me out of it for my life. When I became the pastor, I told our church we're going to do the same thing. We're going to organize and structure our church the same way. I would even argue this, that if you want God to bless a business, structure it the same way. Be a tithing business, like give away, save, like build for the future, the rainy day, live within your margin. I just fundamentally believe this is what God blesses.
Yeah.
It's over in Scripture. You honor God, you build wealth, live in margin, which margin creates peace, right? And that's the financial peace argument, the Dave Ramsey's, curriculum. So yes, I 100%, man, like we try to model it. I'm not going to ask anybody to do something that I'm not going to do personally. So here's what Amanda and I are kind of struggling with. I think I mentioned this in one of those devotionals, like we give 10%, a little bit more than that. And then in this season, we sense that God's asking us to go to 15%. So 5% more into the here and now initiative. And then every year, at the end of the year, we'll give a larger gift, kind of like our year-end offering type of moment. Just for the here and now initiative. That's what we sense God. And I'm not projecting that on anybody. I just think it's important that people know like what we've been praying about, what we sense God is telling us to do. And again, like that's what God's telling us, probably not telling everybody to do that, but that's what we sense He's telling us in this season. So that's what we're just inviting people, just trust God. Do you trust God or not?
Yeah.
And do you trust God if we're going to be obedient to... I want for our people in this season to hear God's voice, like pray and like legitimately ask Him, what do you want me to do? And if whatever He tells you, just do it. And I'm believing, this is the faith, that God, you will meet our needs. You will meet us in this moment. Because it's not faith if you have it all figured out. Like if you look at your spreadsheet, like, we can do this. That's not faith.
Yeah.
That's just common sense, right?
Yeah.
Like faith is like, God, this is going to be a stretch, and we're praying, will you meet us? Like, that's faith. That's trust that I'm talking about. Do you actually trust that God will meet you in that moment?
It's good.
If you're going to play it safe, there's no room for God to flex in your life. And that, when I preached that a couple weeks ago, man, that's where Amanda and I actually went back to the whiteboard of like, I think we're playing it safe. What do you sense God is, like, what step of faith are you asking? Do you sense God telling us to do in this moment? Not what we can figure out. Anybody can do that.
Yeah.
We could take a step of faith.
It's good.
So,
all right. So speaking of, you mentioned this kind of as an illustration that it's a learned behavior, generosity is. I want to speak into the parent for a little bit. What are practical ways? Because this is just thinking through my kids.
Yep.
Immediately, Hudson, the firstborn, not generous by nature at all. Very much like mine. Finley, second, she has a little bit more of that naturally in her. She's very giving, right? Well, a sentence she says all the time is like, how about we take turns, right? So like her mindset is just a little bit different. So each kid is different, obviously, but what are some approaches for a parent to instill and teach generosity into their kids?
So I would just make this as practical as possible. The 10-10-80 principle for every kid. Just teach them what that looks like. So if you give an allowance or commissions or whatever, Dave Ramsey calls it, I think the brilliance, because kids are by nature visual learners as well, of just get them like clear tubes or like mason jars. And when you give them, and this takes some work, right? But we're being intentional as a parent. And obviously it grows as they get older. Now my kids have green light cards, so we're not, giving them cash anymore. It's on their green light. But on their green light account, there's a giving, there's a savings, and they can go in and they can see, like they can log in and they can see, this is in my savings account, this is in my giving account, this is in what I can spend account. Gianna, our oldest, is a saver. Like she's thousands of dollars in that thing. Grayson has $0, right? And it burns a hole. But I sound like, here's what's going to happen. Every time you get paid anything, 10% goes here, 10% goes there. So now my kids are older. So, but when they were little, like mason jars, here's 10 $1 bills. You get 8. 1 goes into giving first, 1 goes into savings, and then you get to spend 8. And we're just really intentional with that.
Yeah.
You're teaching them the biblical principle. And it takes discipline. But here's the thing: when it comes to money, they don't learn that on accident, or just, you have to teach, like, be a parent and be intentional and teach them.
Yeah.
That's what being a parent is. Of like, we're going to show you, and we're to the point now where they don't know, but our whole financial picture, but they know the first 10%. The whole Here and Now initiative, we prayed about it as a family. We talk about it, the family guides. We're processing this together as a family and asking them. So it's funny, like we watched that video, the first 15-minute video that we launched, and Grayson was watching it when, Pastor Dave sent me the rough cut. He looks at it. I'm like, what do you think? He's like, that's awesome. I'm like, does it make you want to like be generous? He's like, yeah, all of it. I'm like, that's the idea, right? Like, So I'm like, okay, so Grayson, what does that look like for you in this season? What do you think God might be calling you to do? So he did a little side project this summer, and he got a check for it, and he hasn't cashed it yet. So he's kind of, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to watch this, but I wouldn't be surprised like if something comes from, he's literally been sitting on a check for 3 months. It's in his backpack. It's a couple $100.
It's been in his backpack the whole school year.
I asked, I said, bud, what are you going to do? Like, he doesn't want to cash it.
Oh, that's funny.
So I don't know what he's going to do. But that's my point. Like, that doesn't happen on accident. Yeah. That's intentional parenting. And at the end of the day, the greatest, everybody says, well, this kind of frustrates me when Christians will say, well, the inheritance that I'm leaving my children is a godly inheritance, a spiritual inheritance. I mean, that's not what the text says. The text literally says, blessed is the man who gives an inheritance to his kids' kids. Like, that is a financial moment. So I take that really important. So I'm like, Grayson, the best gift that I can give to you, yes, there'll be inheritance, but I'm going to teach you financial stewardship right now. And Gianna too. That comes easy for her. She's like Amanda in that way, but Grayson had been really intentional because he's kind of the same. Like, everything's mine, and money burns a hole in his pocket. Yeah. But yeah, just process that. We can give help to all those things, but Financial Peace University, like, that is not just a talking point. I would encourage every family to go through that at some point. You can do it in the group setting is the best. I think you can actually do it online as well. But I would encourage that's a great gift of intentionality you can give your kids. Yeah. Just walking them through that.
It's good. The last week I was just thinking about this. Hudson, all I had was a $5 bill, and each Friday they get donuts at school for $1, right?
Yep.
And so I was like, dude, all I have is a $5, and this is the first time I trusted him with money in his backpack. So he was like, I get to have 5 donuts. I'm like, no.
That's not what that means.
No.
You'll give me
you take 4 back. Yeah, 4. And then that's what we use the next 4 weeks. And he's like, if I could have 5 donuts. So afterwards, I'm like really nervous. And he brought me back $4 bills.
I thought he was going to buy donuts for all of his friends. Yeah. Dad, the most popular.
Even that I would have been fine with.
Yeah, right.
Like, at least you shared. No. He would have kept 5.
5 donuts.
Yeah.
Best Friday ever for him. Yeah. I forgot last week. I usually have some money. And Gabby's like, Gianna doesn't do donuts anymore, but Grayson and Gabby always on Fridays. And I'm literally searching my car for quarters. Yeah. And I have give her 4 quarters or 3 quarters and some dimes I'm like, you're officially that kid. Like, you're asking for this, and here's the change in my cup holder type of moment.
Yeah. The pennies.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly.
They don't make pennies anymore?
That's what I heard. There's still so many in circulation, but
yeah,
costs more money to make a penny than what they're actually worth.
That tracks. That makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Lastly, close on the Monopoly story, because I think that was a money moment within the sermon. Just the idea of everything goes back into the box. So speak into that a little bit, and then we'll close it out.
God's the owner. You're the manager. Think about your life like a board game. You can't take any of this stuff with you. What's really sobering for me is to think about 100 years from now, or let's just play 70 years from now. Everything that I own will be in somebody else's name. My bank accounts, probably my kids, housing, everything that I have. I can't take it. It all goes back in the box. The money line in John Ortberg's story is when the grandma looks at him and says, it was here a long time before you, and it'll be here a long time after you're gone. Mm. But so while we're here, let's live. This goes back to Randy Alcorn, the treasure principle. Let's live for eternity. Let's live for the things that actually will matter 100 years from now, not in the simple gratification.
Yeah, it's really good.
So this is what here and now is. How do you reorganize your life, right? To live for the things that actually matter. or or the things that honestly, like you just a month from now, like where'd all your money go? Well, this restaurant, this, like it didn't even last you a month. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying like live in percentages of like live for the things that actually that won't burn.
Yeah.
And that's people. Live for eternity. So everything goes back into the box. That's from his book. It all goes back in the box. I read that back in seminary 20-something years ago. It stuck with me, and every once in a while I'll pull that. I think that's the second or third time I've used it. It all goes back in the box.
Are you a Monopoly player or no?
I think it actually, I'm not a big board game guy, but
not super shocked by that.
I think Monopoly is the best. I mean, the best game ever invented.
Interesting.
It does teach you, if you think about it, it does teach you like how to handle money, and like buy rental properties or like real estate, all those types of things. Yeah, it actually is a brilliant game.
People don't like playing with me because I'm like the persuader. So I'll spend like 20 minutes on a turn to try to like and then by the time they're like, I'm so annoyed, here's just take this.
There is a game. It's not board game, but it's a card game.
Yeah.
Monopoly
Deal.
Yeah, I actually think that's a great game.
Yeah, it's quicker
It's fun, and you're not obviously like building properties, but it's the idea. Yeah. I think that's a great game. I played that a lot with some friends.
Settlers of Catan. That's the best board game ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Risk is good too. I'm okay with Risk.
So you're fine with board games if it's like a lot of strategy and input into it. Yeah, that's fun.
One summer, this is total side. I painted in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is this is the year I'm going off to seminary or college. That summer, after we get back to the shop around 4 or 5 o'clock, we clock out, and in the boardroom was this massive game of Risk, and we played probably almost every day after working. We'd all come back from our different houses, and we'd play for a couple hours. Yeah.
I've only played Risk like one time. I played Ticket to Ride before too. That's similar, I think, too, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Settlers of Catan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
it's the best.
I would like people to put it in the chat.
Yeah. What's your favorite board game?
What's your favorite board game or card game?
It's good stuff.
Yeah. Anyway.
Really excited for this upcoming weekend. I agree with you. It's going to be a really fun time just to see what God does in the lives of our people. But
Amen.
It's going to be a fun time. Remember, the church is not a building we sit in. It's a movement that we get to be a part of to reach one more life for Jesus.